If I could get your attention, please. We're going to get started here. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Parker Ackerman. I am the Marketing and Communications Coordinator for the TallWood Design Institute. So if you've been getting emails, they're probably from me, so sorry. We are really excited to have you on our campus to host you for the 2024 Mass Timber Research Symposium. So again, thank you for joining us. Just a couple little housekeeping items. So when you arrived, you probably received an agenda for today's event. So I'm just going to briefly take you through that. So to start off, we're going to have Iain Macdonald and Judith Sheine share a little bit about TDI, some updates on our initiatives that we have going on. So just some more information there. And then we're going to move into our sessions for today. So we have several different ones going on. So the first one will be manufacturing and supply chain. The next one will be structural and seismic. Then we'll take a lunch break, and then we will have design innovation and sustainability and environment at the end. So again, we are really excited for you to join us. You also have a speaker bio document with you as well. So to learn more about those who are going to be presenting today, please refer to that document. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Iain and Judith. So we'll just do a quick little switch of the presentation and we should be ready to go. So thanks again for joining us.
We can get up.
Yeah, in a second.
We could just talk very loudly. Right. I think everybody knows Iain, right? Macdonald is the director. I think most of you know me. My title is Director of Design. I really run the UO piece of this. I'm Professor of Architecture at UO. And we do have a big UO presence today, which we're excited about. We're going to be talking as soon as we get this organized, we get the mic. I'm used to talking really loudly in design studios, so that's why I'm doing this. We're going to talk about some of the big initiatives that TDI has been, that TallWood Design Institute, which we call TDI, has been involved in recently and will continue to be involved in. Many of you already know about these because we ask many of you to write letters of support for us all the time, for which we are very grateful. So, Iain, I think you're going to start talking about a lot of these updates.
Sure. Thanks, Judith. I'm going to use this mic because we have one, so may as well use it right. Thanks everyone for being here today. This is actually we're counting our 8th annual symposium. If you count the virtual stuff that we did in 2020 during COVID, and really it's the idea is to try to showcase the research that's been done by the faculty members and students in the College of Forestry and the College of Engineering here at OSU and the College of Design at University of Oregon. And we've been working together in this interdisciplinary way over the 8 years. This is just really to tell you the outputs of that program. I'm going to talk about a few things before we get into the research projects themselves. Some larger collaborative initiatives we've been working on in the last few years. Before we do that, it's really important that we acknowledge our major sponsors of the research you're going to hear about today. We've been really fortunate to receive funding annually from the USDA Agricultural Research Service, and we have John Folk in the audience today who's traveled out to learn about what we do. So thank you, John, for being with us. We have various other projects funded by the Wood Innovations grants that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And then more recently, we received large allocations of funding from the EDA's, the Economic Development Administration's Build Back Better Regional Challenge Program. And I'm going to talk about those briefly now. And you're also going to see one of those projects when we walk over to the lab after we get done with the presentations here today. We have a little bit of trepidation about moving this large group through our lab, which is very crowded with projects and materials and stuff. But we have a plan, and we think we can pull it off. So we stick with us, and we'll get through it. And hopefully it should be really interesting. I wanted to quickly mention one other thing. The research the presentations today are focused on the publicly funded work and research work that's being carried out across the two campuses. Tomorrow we're going to switch over, and our REACT consortium members are going to meet and talk about current projects and the work that they want to do next. And this is a kind of members club of companies who are early adopters and innovators in the mass timber space, who have come together to really have conversations around, okay, we're going to put a little bit of money into the kitty, and we're going to work on stuff that we think is of common interest and will kind of move the industry forward in the spirit of, the rising tide floats all boats. And we have some interesting projects going on. So we have 20 companies currently participating in the consortium. This year, we're very happy to welcome some new members. We have FFA Architecture. Great to have you guys on board. We have Mackenzie. And we also have Frere's Engineered Wood joining. And we have some great discussions coming up. So if you're interested in learning about that, please talk to me anytime. The collaborative initiatives we wanted to really talk about are, around the Oregon Mass Timber Coalition, the EDA Tech Hub, and the NSF Regional Innovation Engines program. And some of you have heard about this from us. In 2020, the two universities started to talk to other state agencies, the Port of Portland, the Oregon Department of Forestry, and the Department of Land Conservation and Development, and Business Oregon, around ways to kind of stimulate the mass timber sector, in the recognition that Oregon is an early adopter of mass timber and has some of the early companies who really jumped on board early in architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, and really kind of set the lead, led development of mass timber in the U.S. We started to talk 4 years ago after the Labor Day fires of 2020, actually, and we subsequently applied for this EDA Build Back Better Regional Challenge funding, and were awarded about $41 million in 2022. I've got some quick updates now on some projects, on the projects that are being carried out through that program. And people in the room, there are people in the room here today. I think Brian Gunn is here from the Port. Brian, nice to have you. And Julie Purris from Portland Community College is here somewhere. Hi, Julie. And I'm probably forgetting other people, but maybe Judith will remind me, or you guys will. Really, the projects are focused on enhancing R&D infrastructure in the region around mass timber, a very innovative program of work called Smart Forestry, which is focused obviously on the forestry side of the supply chain, the development of prototyping of mass timber modular housing, workforce training, the development of a really innovative campus on housing innovation and mass timber at the Port of Portland's Terminal 2, and some work by the Department of Land Conservation and Development to work with municipalities to help bring their codes into zoning regulations to a point that it's more conducive to modular mass timber housing in the future. And importantly, Oregon Department of Forestry working on fiber supply. This first project is at OSU. I'm going to talk about this for people coming over to the lab later. We're developing a fire lab. We're in design right now, and I won't talk any more about this because we're going to talk about it at the venue there. I'm going to let Judith jump in here and talk about the University of Oregon lab.
Yeah, this is an acoustic testing lab. Most of you know something about this, and it's for testing floor ceiling assemblies of mass timber assemblies. We're actually building it at the Port of Portland at the Mass Timber Housing Innovation Campus, known as MITHIC, I think is what we call it, right? And we actually, some of you might know that UO is moving out of the White Stag, which is incredibly sad, but happily, Energy Studies and Building Lab is going to have a new home, which is going to be attached to the acoustic lab, and we're going to be a kind of little research corner of the MITHIC site. So we're working closely with the Port, which of course is a partner in the Oregon Mass Timber Coalition, and we're excited to be working with them. Has everybody seen the airport roof? Yeah, right. Yeah, so port is heavily involved in mass timber these days. Mhm. Oh, and I should say, I'm sorry. The update is that we actually we have a design build team. It's Anderson Construction working with Lever Architecture on the project. We just finished schematics. We have not released them yet because they still need approval, and we'll be moving on to actually, build this thing. Mhm. Mhm.
I hesitate to try and describe the smart forestry component of the Build Back Better because it's so many things. The lead PI is Woody Chung in the department in the College of Forestry's Forest Engineering and Resources and Management department. But he has 9 co-PIs across different universities in Washington, Oregon, and Montana, as well as other departments like the College of Public Health is involved at OSU. And I'm just going to report on some progress on 3 kind of interesting projects under that program. One is the wearable exoskeletons, which sounds like very Terminator 2, but really it's about kind of wearables that will ergonomically assist logging workers to be able to do their jobs more safely and with lower risk of injury. This program has been developed through the College of Public Health, looking at sort of stresses and strains on the body, and developing these wearables in order to lower injury risk. The logging is actually the most dangerous profession in this country. And in some areas, I think this is true in Washington state, the cost of insuring logging workers for companies is about equal to the wage cost. So, one way to bring down the cost of fiber is to basically make it safer. And as well, this is part of a strategy through this smart forestry program is try and bring these careers to the attention of younger people who might be not think of logging and forestry as their first career choice. And really, there's a lot of efforts through this program to also talk about the level of technology now used in logging. One of the other, on the subject of technology, researchers are working on a machine vision system that can be attached to tethered harvesting devices that perform restoration forestry. So going into the forest and thinning out the younger trees and leaving the more mature trees. They actually have developed a technology that can, through machine vision, assess the diameter at breast height, so the size of the tree, so that logging operators can quickly and more easily target the right tree, cut the right tree, and get it to the right mill. They're working on additional technology to assess density using sensors in the clamping heads and that kind of thing. It's really interesting. So this is all with the idea of to try to modernize logging. I think we have approximately 40% higher logging costs here in the Northwest than we do in somewhere like Scandinavia, which is state of the art where a lot of these advanced technologies do originate. So one way to reduce the cost of fiber and make mass timber more competitive is to work on the forestry cost side of the equation. And then the last one is really an effort, as I said, to try and attract younger people. Maybe not this young, as not this guy. This was a visit from sponsored by Starker Forests, who have property adjacent to our research forest here in this area. But there's a logging simulator room in the College of Forestry's PV Hall, and we take these on the road and to career fairs, to community colleges, to high school gatherings, and really expose the technology to young people, to just open their eyes to, what it means to use these advanced technologies in modern forestry. The Oregon Department of Forestry has been working on fiber supply, and what they've been doing is working through the Good Neighbor Authority with the Forest Service to do the NEPA studies needed to open up more restoration forestry harvesting. So they did a timber sale or a NEPA study on the Willamette National Forest and made a timber sale. The successful bidder of that was actually a mass timber company in Oregon. And that fiber is now being provided. So really the idea here is we're doing restoration forestry to make the forests more resilient, reduce wildfire risk, improve forest health. We're bringing that fiber into the supply chain, using it for things like housing, to address the housing crisis, and also stimulate, and protect jobs all along the forestry and the mass timber supply chain. Brian should really be doing this, but he supplied these words. Thank you, Brian. T2 is a 39-acre parcel of land, industrial land, just north of downtown Portland on the Willamette River. It's functioned as a marine terminal for years, currently kind of in a dormant state in terms of its marine terminal. The Port has been transforming that into a vibrant industrial park focused on housing innovation and mass timber. They've attracted a European producer of mass timber housing that's going to operate from that site and will use local mass timber products. And they want to basically bring complementary businesses to that site. There's an existing modular housing producer also there. The University of Oregon is building their acoustic lab on that site too. So that's really an evolving dynamic development that is really kind of unique in this region and very highly visible as we are so adjacent to downtown. There's a workforce training component of the Build Back Better program. This is being led by the Port of Portland, but with subcontracts to Portland Community College and Work Systems. And the idea is to assess current training landscape for mass timber in Oregon around advanced manufacturing construction skills, to then develop curriculum to fill gaps and then share that with other community colleges. And Julie, if I'm saying anything wrong, just hold up your hand there. Okay. So that work is ongoing. And Glacier Peak Institute, which is based in Darrington, Washington, is also involved. So there's a Washington connection there too. And the Department of Land Conservation Development has been working with smaller Oregon cities to try to, smooth the way for, in terms of their zoning regulations for more prefabricated mass timber housing to be built in their communities. That work has basically already happened and it's had really, really good uptake. I'm going to switch gears now and just talk about kind of the next evolution of our collaboration, which is the EDA Tech Hub program. So we've had 4 years of working together as the Oregon Mass Timber Coalition. Last year, we were invited by EDA to apply for designation as a Tech Hub. This is a program that is funded by the CHIPS and Science Act and really is geared at creating competitive industry clusters around the country that have the potential to become globally competitive within 10 years. We proposed that the mass timber industry in Washington and Oregon could be one of those promising industry clusters, and EDA agreed with us and designated us as a tech hub last October. And really, we are working now towards aligning a program of work. There's many more partners who have joined, and these are just some of the organizations, around just shy of 100 organizations that have expressed interest and committed to being part of that hub. Really, why are we doing this? Well, we have this early adopter kind of status in the Northwest. Washington, Oregon have kind of moved together in lockstep over the last few years, adapting and their building codes to allow mass timber, building some of the earliest mass timber buildings. Our architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing firms are really leaders in the space. We have around half of the mass timber manufacturing capacity in the US within this region, broadly speaking. Things are growing, 2,500 buildings in design or under construction around the country, compared to like 1 in 2011. So, it's quite a big change there. But experienced European competitors who've been doing this mass timber manufacturing for a couple of decades longer are still able to land product into the US and compete, undercut or by about 10 to 15% on price. So our strategies are aimed to kind of address that and hopefully eliminate that the differential there. And we're going to work on a wide variety of fronts, looking across fiber supply, forestry efficiency, as I mentioned, training and career development, access to innovation support services at places like this campus, University of Oregon and Washington State University, access to capital strategies, serving as a convening mechanism for the industry, and aligning with state and federal policies and philanthropy to try to bring more funding to the sector. If you're interested in learning more, please talk to us about that. Currently, we did provide a large proposal to EDA in February, which was not successful, unfortunately, in the first round. We just recently received a $500K catalytic award to be able to create a governance structure and carry out a market study, do some work on capital access and some convening and communication dollars. We have Washington State University is just proposing a workforce development strategy to the Good Jobs Challenge, which is another EDA program. And we are gearing up to propose to the Build to Scale program, yet another EDA program by the end of October. Judith.
Hi, so the third one of these big federal initiatives we're working on is the National Science Foundation Regional Innovation Engines Program, which they call the NSF Engines Program. So we applied in 2022 for a Type 1, which is a development award, and that we were awarded that in 23, and it runs through 2025. I should say unexpectedly, they announced the next phase of the NSF engine, about a year before we actually finished the strategic planning exercise. So we've already embarked on the NSF engines proposal. The NSF engine, and these are all complementary in some way, the EDA BBBRC was for funding R&D and infrastructure. The EDA Tech Hub is focused on essentially implementing R&D that is ready for commercialization and overcoming barriers for that. The NSF engine is focused on slightly earlier stages of R&D, some of which you will see presented today, that could be ready quite soon for commercialization and becoming company IP and becoming companies. And that's actually a very big program. It's potentially up to $160 million over 10 years, though the first piece of the program is only for the first 2 years. So there's a lot of overlap, a lot of you involved in all these programs in one way or another. And you're on our advisory boards for the Tech Hub and for the NSF engine. And for the latest proposal, the NSF engine proposal, we have a number of partners who are here. Timber Lab, which I know is represented here, is one of them. And Freres, I think Tyler will be here a little later. Portland Community College, Julia's here representing that. The Port, of course, always a partner. And we submitted a preliminary proposal. We're waiting to hear, we're supposed to hear in October, which I guess is next month, whether we go on for a full proposal, and that'll be due in middle of February. And the reason I'm telling you all this is we'll be writing to many of you asking you for letters, which everybody has been incredibly gracious and generous in giving to us over this time. So you can see that we now spend almost all our time involved in writing grants or interim reports or final reports or things. And it's amazing that we actually have any time to do anything else. But I do want to say there is an update on the EDA prototyping project, which we didn't put in here. I'll be presenting it later as part of research. And of course, you'll be touring the lab where we actually have some of it going up. So Iain and I occasionally find time to do other things rather than apply for these grants. But again, we really do appreciate all your involvement and support. So thank you.